This is a 980 CKNW podcast.
You're live with the App Show. Mike Agerbo here with John Beeler. We've got a great program for you today. As you know, our show is all about the world of apps and mobile technology. Later on, we'll be talking with our good friend AJ Vickery all about the new OnePlus phone. This is a phone competing against the big guys, Samsung and Apple. They've got a new camera phone that's partnered with Hasselblad, which is a big name in camera technology, been around for decades. And they've also released a new watch as well, which we'll get some details on that. What about driving habits during COVID-19? We're going to be talking with the folks over at Waze Canada about how our driving has been affected during the pandemic. There's some interesting statistics on that. And we've got a great segment about Wise. If you're doing any type of business in other countries, especially down in the United States, a lot of times it's difficult to get paid. And a lot of times when you're converting the currencies, you're not getting the best rates. Well, we're going to be talking about an app that actually lets you set up a borderless bank account. And we've got Ted Kritsonos on the line to help us with that in a bit. John, let's talk about some of the mobile or app news that's out there right now. This is a big one for me. Do you remember the COVID alert app? You know, the big fanfare around that? Google and Apple were building, the contact tracing into their phones, and the government of Canada came out with this app. Well, a lot of people are now saying it's completely useless.
Including Health Canada.
All that effort, John.
Well, yeah, I mean, so there's a report that says basically 5% of nearly 535,000 Canadians who tested positive since the app launched have used it to alert others. Basically, what that means is only 5% of 535,000 people actually got that unique key sent to the app, so that if they were walking around in the world, that app would then be telling you that you were near John and John was exposed. So, and it's only 5% of the people that are actually infected in Canada have this. That's not very effective.
It really isn't. I think one of the challenges too, John, is that not all provinces basically signed on board for it. So most did, but not in Alberta, British Columbia, Nunavut, or the Yukon. So you got fear. Well, you haven't got everyone on board either.
Well, and I remember when it first came out, because we were all optimistic, and you and I were telling people just install it now because you'll be ready when it is turned on in our province, and it never came. No. I mean, it's not going to do anything to your phone or anything. Like, there's no negative to having it. It just basically is useless because it's not, turned on in Western Canada, basically. And even where it is turned on, only 5% of those people have used it.
All that effort, we'll have to look into how it's doing around the rest of the world, but I imagine it's probably more of the same, don't you?
Yeah, I still think the biggest challenge that they have is that the people that, the majority of the people that seem to be getting infected may not be the population that has the right technology to use an app like this.
Yeah. And,
if you're in a senior living home and you're infected, you're not walking around, Walmart,
yeah, totally. So, with your iPhone 12.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, they did have some other options for people, but it just wasn't enough to really address the people that seem to be getting the most of the exposure to this that would benefit us, but, not to pick on seniors because I'm getting up there myself, but, lots of young people were also contributing to this, and they have the smartphones, but they're not installing the app.
They're not the ones. Yeah, I just think if people did get on board with this would have been a handy thing, don't you?
Absolutely. But you could say the same thing about masks. So
I'm going to give a big sigh on that story, John. So we're also looking at some other tech news here. Chrome can now caption all audio playing through the browser. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. I mean, they've had this on some of their phones for a little while now, like Google like Pixel phones.
Yeah,
it was one of their sort of claims to fame. So especially if you're like want to listen to music but still want to watch something, you can just do the captions. And now in Chrome, it's one of their accessibility features that you can turn on. It's called Live Capture.
Yeah.
And again, like it's been available on Android devices for a little while, but the latest version of Chrome now supports this natively, and this works on almost anything that you're watching on your browser.
So like a YouTube video, any type of video, that has audio.
Yeah, although YouTube would have its own caption system, which might be slightly better, but yeah, if you're watching a live stream, for example, somewhere that the captions wouldn't be baked into that YouTube video yet. So, well,
this is a great accessibility feature.
Yeah,
like that just takes it to a whole other level. I love this. I love this feature, and so this is something that is available now.
Yep. Yeah, you just make sure you have the latest version of Chrome on your desktop or laptop.
Also in the mobile news, Samsung apparently working on a double folding phone. We've had our chance to try out some of the Samsung phones. The Fold 2, and also the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip or Z Flip, depending what country you're living in. I've actually got a review up on the website, getconnectedmedia.com. Had been using the Samsung folding Z Flip phone for the past year, if you want to check that out. But now they're talking about a double folding one. Is that crazy?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how this is going to work. Like, you're going to fold it in half and then fold it in half again?
into a tiny little square.
Yeah, and fold it into a unicorn or a swan.
It's interesting, right? Because I still think we need to get to a place where these things are affordable. I do like the form factor. Like I loved using that Z Flip phone. It's like almost like a Motorola Razr phone, from back in the day. Like I just love the form factor, being able to close it shut and it turns it into a square, super easy to fit in the pocket. But you need to get the price down. You need to make them thinner as well, don't you think?
Yeah, well, the whole thing about having the screen being foldable or bendable, that kind of thing, I think that's the expensive part of the equation. I'd be just as happy with two screens that, there's a thin little bezel between them.
Yeah.
Then you can do two things at once, or you can merge them. Your brain will erase that middle line or that little margin or bezel, whatever you want to call it, between the two screens if you're engaged in whatever you're watching or whatever you're doing. So I think that would help bring the price down, and it doesn't need to be this seamless, elegant thing. I mean, it's cool, but the problem we've always had with these devices is how durable are they because of that fact.
Yeah, I mean, the one I've been using for the past year, it's been pretty durable. I give them, huge props for that. It's been amazing. But again, the price tag on these things, they're over $2,000.
Yeah.
You got to get them under $1,000.
So how much would that particular unit be if it was just two independent screens, like a Nintendo DS, right? Same kind of thing. Yeah,
that's a different story. I'm surprised LG hasn't done that. They've kind of have, but not to the form factor. What about the new Microsoft one?
The Surface Duo, I think it's called. Yeah. I've been trying to get my hands on one of those just to see, and I've seen some videos, and people seem to. It seems polarizing. Is probably the best way to describe it. Either you love it, or you think it's stupid.
Well, we'll get our hands on one of those and give that a test as well. Don't forget to hit our contest at getconnectedmedia.com. Give away a TUT exercise trainer. This thing is connected. You can use an app to watch videos to learn how to train. It's got a built-in rowing machine as well. And if you want extra entries, at the end of the show, we're going to be telling you a secret word that gets you extra entries into the contest to up your chances of winning. I think a lot of us use navigation apps. There's a lot on the market. One favorite with many would happen to be Waze. It's been around for a number of years now. I like it, very accurate. I love the traffic data as well, so it tells me when areas are busy. And you can even update it on the go as well if there are things that come along like potholes or I guess even police radar. You can add that into the app itself as well. Well, we want to have a chat today about driving habits over the past year during COVID. We've got a great guest from Waze. His name is Andrew Stober. Thanks for joining us, Andrew.
Thanks. It's great to be here with you.
So I'm just thinking of my own driving habits over the past year. there wasn't a lot. I wasn't driving all that much, maybe a couple times a week into the office. What kind of things were you guys seeing?
So, we operate in 185 countries around the world that we have Waze users, and we've been looking at that data across the globe and including in Canada, and it'll come as no surprise to anyone listening or watching the program that driving plummeted last March and into April. In Canada, we saw the greatest drop. We had a 76% decline in the miles driven in Canada, kilometers driven in Canada, compared to a pre-COVID baseline in April. And then driving has been steadily moving back. Actually, over the summer, we were back up to the amount of driving that we usually see from Canadians. As things were getting a little bit more under control and people were hitting the road a little bit more, and then a decline into the fall as there were additional outbreaks.
Did you find people just kind of pulling over off to the side and crying every so often?
So there's no report. You can report when you see a car stopped on the side of the road. We don't have the nature of that report. So not sure if it was for tears, but I think something that we all know, right, is that this past year and continues to be stressful enough, and the stress of driving doesn't need to be added to that.
Can you look at things like accidents and what have you as well? I imagine those would be down too.
Yeah. So what we've seen globally is a really mixed picture on the crash front. Lots of countries have seen pretty significant reductions in the number of crashes, but a number of places around the world have seen increases in the number of crashes, and particularly, and this is from public data, not our own Waze data, but in the United States and I believe Sweden, the Netherlands, some other places have seen increases actually in the number of fatal crashes as people have been driving faster with the roads a little bit more empty.
Well, I didn't anticipate that. That's awful. Yeah. Tell our listeners that aren't using Waze right now, what are some of the features that would set it apart from some of the other GPS or navigation apps?
Absolutely. I mean, I think really what makes Waze different is that we are a global community that crowdsources the app. We have the best real-time, hyper-local information. You're going to know where roads are closed. You're going to know where there are traffic jams ahead, where there are potholes ahead. And that's all based on this community, which is a community of drivers who are reporting these incidents. We have 1,800 public partners around the world, including more than 100 in Canada, who are providing us information about what's going on roads in their cities and provinces. So all the road closures that are going in, you're never going to find yourself stuck having a surprise road closure in front of you. We'll navigate you around ahead of time. We have a fantastic plan drive feature where you can plan your drive ahead of time, and we'll tell you when you can expect the least amount of traffic and your quickest journey.
You talking about these partnerships. How does that all work? I was always curious, for road closures and what have you. Is this kind of an automatic thing, or is just someone from Vancouver City Hall calling Ed down at Waze? Hey, we got Hastings closed down for a couple hours.
Yeah, so I think it really depends on the size of the partner we have, right? If it's a big city or a province, they're probably providing us a data feed that's going right into the app and being updated, every 2 minutes. If it's a small town or borough, they're emailing us to let us know that they have a closure, and we're making sure that gets in on the map. Or they're working with our map editors who are local folks all around the world who contribute to the map and keep it updated.
How many people would work for Waze, ballpark?
So we have about 500 folks who work at Waze, and then we have tens of thousands of volunteers who help edit the map and keep things updated. So over 10,000 Canadians have edited the Waze map at some point. This is something a lot of folks don't know about Waze. If you drive with Waze, you can go in and edit the Waze map within a half mile of everywhere that you drive. We have about 1,500 active map editors in Canada today who are keeping that map up to date, making sure those road closures get in. For instance, one of the things that we've seen come out of the pandemic is a lot of cities modifying their street network to create more space for people to walk or cycle outside as people can't gather inside as much anymore. And so, for instance, in Toronto with the Active TO program, our map editors made sure that all of the streets were updated to reflect the current regulations there. We worked in Montreal and nationally, actually, with Clinia Health to make sure that we had all of the publicly available data in the map about COVID testing and screening sites in ways. So our map editors and our partnerships work in lots of ways to make sure that the folks who use our app have the best information available to them.
How does that work, though? Like, what's stopping me from putting a giant Ferris wheel in front of Mike's house on the map?
Oh my God, you got to do that. That's awesome.
So that's a great question. So how do we deal with sort of a fraudulent report? So there are a few things. One, behind the scenes, every person who makes an edit or a suggestion gets a confidence score. So if it's your first time on the map or you're reporting false things to us, we know probably not to believe you when you report things to us. If you're a reliable reporter and lots of people like what you show on the map and confirm that it's there, then we make sure that those reports get surfaced. And it's one of the other reasons that we partner with so many trusted partners who provide us that kind of reliable data and information.
So I just need to pay off all of Mike's neighbors to trust me to put that Ferris wheel on their street.
That'll be between you, Mike, and his neighbors.
We're talking with Andrew Tobin. He's with Waze. He's head of global partnerships out there with them, and just about some of the data during COVID. As you can imagine, there wasn't a lot of people out there driving. Free app, obviously, on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store as well. Thanks for joining us.
Sure, it's been great to be with you.
We're going to talk about financial apps now, and specifically one, Wise. We've got our good friend Ted Kritsonos on the line from Toronto to tell us all about it. Thanks for joining us, Ted.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Why do we need another financial app?
Well, it depends what it is you want to do with your finances. This is not an app that you're going to use to invest or, things like that. This is not that kind of app. If you are interested in things like currency conversion, and especially if you want to keep certain monies in certain currencies for whatever reason, be it, work-related, travel. So, for example, you may have a job with a company in a different country, and they're paying you in their local currency. You can still earn that currency without having to convert it at the bank. So ultimately, you pay a better rate to convert the currency. And on top of that, there is also what's called a borderless account, which, as I mentioned, lets you keep it in that currency as if you had a bank account in that country. Now, that only works with a few countries, but it's still a very, very cool feature.
Well, that's kind of cool because I know a lot of people that do freelance work for companies down in the United States. So you're saying they could set up this borderless account with Wise, and those companies they're working for could pay them in U.S. currency, and the money would go into that Wise account.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm an example of that. So I also contribute to U.S. publications as well, and they pay me in U.S. dollars. So rather than having a situation where they pay me by check or they're paying, we're doing currency conversions and things like that, it's so simplified that they can actually pay by direct deposit into an account with Wise that has banking details. So an ACH and routing number. So it's a direct deposit for the publication or the organization in this case. And I then get the money and I can convert it if I want to. I'm not forced to. I can convert it when I want to Canadian dollars and then transfer it to my Canadian bank account if I want. Ultimately, what I'm benefiting from is I'm getting a much better rate, a mid-market rate, which is usually better because what banks, especially in Canada, do, they hide their fees within the rate they give you. So you'll probably notice, 4 or 5 points in some cases higher than what Wise would offer.
So you could get paid into your U.S. Wise account, your borderless account, and then have it converted to Canadian in that account at a better rate, and then just transfer it over to your Canadian bank.
That's right. Yeah, because essentially you have a U.S. dollar account, and then you have a Canadian dollar one too, right? I mean, there's a lot of currencies. There's dozens of currencies, but in this case, for this example, we have U.S. dollar. You're collecting U.S. dollars because you're being paid in them, and then you can convert them to Canadian, which then lie in your Canadian Wise account, which you can then easily transfer over whatever funds you want to the account you have at an actual financial institution in the country.
So how do they make money? Sorry, John, go ahead.
I was going to say, Ted, can you use your U.S. Wise account then to connect it to, say, your Amazon.com account to make purchases in the States, or can you use it in any way in the U.S.?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And yes, you can. So there are ways to use Wise. There are ways to use your Wise American account to pay bills. So it is possible to do that. Yes. The one thing that we're missing that I really wish we had up here is the MasterCard debit card that Wise has, which allows you to make, basically to use it as either a credit card online or to use it as a debit card at point of sale. Now, unfortunately, we don't have that card here. But to your question, yes, if you want to pay for subscriptions in U.S. dollars that originate in the U.S., Wise does allow you to do that.
That is fascinating. So there are instances where you could pay U.S. bills from the Wise account, and could you take cash out in U.S. currency in any way?
So that's in reference to the card I was talking about,
yeah.
Where if you had that card, yes, you could go to an ATM and take out U.S. dollars directly from your U.S. account. Not only that, the card is wise enough, part of the pun, to know what currency you're paying in. So if you were in, let's say you're in the UK and you had pound sterling in your British account, you would take money out of that. But unfortunately, as is, there's no way to tie a Wise US account to a Canadian, bank card or anything like that. So unfortunately, there's no easy way to pull that money out of an ATM in the US.
But maybe one day.
Maybe one day. I mean, I brought this up with them when they first mentioned it. I brought this up with them 3 years ago. So back when the company was known as TransferWise, they've changed the name recently. So I asked them about the card, and they said, it's coming. And I mean, there are regulatory hurdles apparently to get over in Canada, and to date, there's been no insight as to whether that card's any closer to coming here.
So what's the catch here? What kind of fees are they charging to do all of this, to transfer?
So the fees, the fees basically are pretty minimal in the sense that the mid-market rate is not exactly what the currency exchange rate is. It's a little bit, it's kind of at the mid-level, so to speak, if that makes sense. They do make a little money on that. So when you're converting currency, there will be a certain amount of money that does go to Wise, but it's significantly less than what would go to the bank, especially when you're converting larger amounts. That's when you really notice the difference. So if you're converting a few $1,000s, you are going to save some money for sure. And then there will be some nominal fees when it comes to transferring funds. But again, it's lower, much lower than anything the bank would charge you.
Yeah, I'm just looking at their website. It says if you want to send $1,000 Canadian to the US, they have a debit fee of $2, and then their fee is $7.49. So $9.59 is your total fee on a $1,000 transfer. Yeah, which isn't bad.
That's not bad at all. And when you accumulate that to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 over time, or even a one shot, if you've got that kind of cash, then you're looking at some significant savings, which they try to lay that out for you. So when you make, even before you're about to make a currency conversion, you will see you'll see the savings based on what the bank's rate likely is that particular day. So
they have it all spelled out right now. Literally, it's the banner on their homepage, and it seems pretty transparent. It shows their fees, and then it shows the amount that's left over. So of that $1,000 Canadian, they're going to take basically $9.59 in fees. So then you've got $990.41 Canadian that they're going to convert, and it shows the current rate that's guaranteed for 96 hours, and then the recipient will get $785 US at 0.792644 conversion rate, which seems like being pretty good. So I think this is something I'm gonna have to sign up for. I think
I'm signing up because I do get paid in US dollars sometimes, but doing the conversion and everything's been a hassle. We're talking all about the Wise app. It's almost like a borderless bank account for different currencies. Great for people that work down, do jobs in the US or for US companies. Allows you to then convert that into other currencies as well without crazy fees. Ted, thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Don't forget our contest. We are giving away a cool prize. It's a Tut Trainer. It's an exercise machine that works in conjunction with a great app. You can watch videos to learn how to exercise better. I think there's over 240 different exercises you can do with it. Also has a built-in rowing machine attachment as well. The great thing is this thing fits in anywhere, home or even a condo. It's that portable. We have a secret word that will get you extra entries into that contest. So if you stick around till the end of the show, I'll tell you that secret word and you'll get extra chances to win. We're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to learn about the new OnePlus phone and a new watch as well for all the people looking for a new smartwatch. We're going to talk now about some new announcements from the OnePlus folks. This is a company out of China that has done very well with their smartphones over the past couple of years. They've released a couple new ones and a new watch as well. On the line, we've got our Get Connected man, AJ Vickery. Thanks for joining us, AJ.
Hey, guys. Yeah, always happy to be here.
So OnePlus, you've been using their phones for a while now. What made them so successful?
Well, it's interesting. It's one of these companies that sort of started really out of mainstream. They decided to do a sort of a web-only release originally with the OnePlus One phone. And that really kind of started to generate this sort of cult following, if I can call it that, and people were really kind of keen into it. And slowly over time, lots of people are like, well, what's that phone and where do you get it? It's not something you typically buy when you walk into your store, and something you actually order online, and you add your, you pick your server, the person you want to get your service from afterwards. But these days they've become huge, and I think a lot of that is just because of the online reviews and all the people that kind of just love them and talk about them.
Well, I remember when they first started out, the big thing was you'd get like super high-end features and the price was like rock bottom, but that's starting to change now. I see it as every iteration comes out, the price is kind of creeping up there into the Samsung and Apple territory.
It is, they've always, initially it was premium features, but not a premium price phone. That was their claim to fame. These days, they're still undercutting the mainstream guys that we would think of, but they're certainly not as competitive against all the people making similar devices out there. But again, this is a feature-packed phone. They've just come out with the OnePlus 9 Pro and the OnePlus 9, but really everyone's talking about the Pro and some of the really cool stuff.
So just to look at the pricing again, the OnePlus 9 Pro, I think that starts at about $1,349. So it definitely is up there. So what are some of the features that make these new ones stand out?
Well, I think one of the big things that everyone's talking about is the collaboration with Hasselblad. So Hasselblad makes a camera, and people who are really into photography would know that name from generations, right? And so this is a company that something like the moon walk was actually the photo was taken on a Hasselblad camera. So this is a an homage to that. There's a collaboration between OnePlus and Hasselblad, and that's the big thing, is that they've come out with just an amazing camera that's built into the 9 Pro. There's some game-changing stuff that they've done with regard to that. So they have this, and this collaboration with Hasselblad is something that starts now, but is actually going to continue for the next couple of years. So as next generation phones come out, they're going to intensify that relationship and really work on an amazing camera features as they grow. But right out of the gate, there's incredible natural-like looking photos. It's got a 48 megapixel main camera, and it's got a 50 megapixel ultra wide camera. And that's something that you don't usually see. And that's one of the things that is really standing out right now, is the sensor for the ultra wide camera is huge. It's and what that does is it allows for some really incredible photos. And I think between the 50 megapixel ultra wide camera that can actually have a focal length of 14 millimeters, that and the Hasselblad partnership is really what makes this phone stand out. Not to mention, it's super fast and it's got lots of other features, but starting off with, it's the camera.
Yeah, that 50 megapixel ultra wide is pretty rare breed indeed. I'm a little, I don't know, so on the Hasselblad integration though, because you guys remember the Moto X and the Hasselblad
not many people remember that, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a mediocre camera, and I had really high hopes for it. But this sounds interesting. Like they've actually spent a little bit more time as opposed to just like a bolt-on accessory.
Well, and so that's the tricky part is they've started investing time. They've got $150 million partnership over the next couple of years, and I think that day one it might not be there, but day 3 years from now, we're going to see, more of that integration come together. But they have worked together on a natural color feature that's built into the camera. I mean, you guys know even better than I do some of the technology, not just the physical lenses and the sensors, but also some of the intelligence that's built into the camera these days are really bringing camera phone technology, way up there in terms of their capabilities to do some amazing stuff.
Got a couple of minutes left here, AJ. Let's quickly talk about the fast charging. They've got like a warp charge, they say now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So this thing will charge at like 65 watts plugged in. It'll go from like 0 to fully charged in 30 minutes. It's also got wireless charging. On their special wireless charger, it'll charge at 50 watts. So they've done this, they've actually done this a kind of a unique way. They've built multiple chargers into the device so that it actually, on their charger, it's charging 2 times, 225 chargers at the same time. So but I mean, hey, you're never going to run out of power because whenever you can plug it in, you're going to be back in the game.
Exactly. And one more minute, they also announced a new watch as well.
Yeah, the watch is really something interesting. So, it's I don't necessarily think it's there to compete with a lot of their super advanced smartwatches, but this is an incredible watch. It's beautiful. It's round. It's highly designed and it's got a truckload of sensors on it. It's really aiming at being a fitness type watch. So it's IP68 rated, so you can swim with it, you can run, you can get dusty, dirty, you can climb with it. And it's got all these sensors built into it to really allow it to report back and give you great health results. And it's one of those watches that you charge and it'll run on regular use for like 14 days. So you're not charging this watch every day. It's kind of, that different breed. Still has all the smart functions into it, so you can check your emails or get your notifications. But it's got one cool little feature in it. You can actually control your smart TV with it. The OnePlus TV, apparently, you can turn the volume off, or if you leave the room, it'll shut the TV off.
Very cool. We'll be getting some of this gear in and doing some more reviews on it. Thanks for joining us, AJ.
You got it, guys.
You are back with the program. As we have said, we have a secret word for you for our contest up at getconnectedmedia.com, giving away a TUT exercise training system. This works in conjunction with an app and some great videos. It's got a built-in rowing machine and fits in a house or a condo. It's awesome. It's worth $1,500. If you want more entries to up your chances of winning, the secret word this week is Superman. in honor of the Justice League movie that just came out, the Zack Snyder cut. Again, the secret word, Superman. If you want to figure out how to use that secret word, go to the website, getconnectedmedia.com. Right on the homepage, there's a banner with the Tut Trainer contest. Just click that, and it will walk you through everything you need to do. I want to thank John, my wonderful co-host and producer, and also Christina, our other producer, back at the studio. We'll see you again next time.
You've been listening to a 980 CKNW podcast. Listen live at cknw.com, the Radio Player Canada app, TuneIn, Amazon Alexa, HD Radio at 101.1 FM HD2, and on the AM dial, 980 CKNW.